conferences require you to submit an abstract before they accept this abstract and give you permission to submit a full paper to the conference. Now, the first thing to note is that abstracts are due many months before the conference actually takes place. So in one of the conferences which I go to, the conference takes place in January, the abstracts are due in June, and you hear about the decision on the abstract in August. So the web portal for this conference opens in March. So basically what you should do in this particular conference is several months before the abstract deadline, you need to start working on your abstract and then have the abstract ready by the deadline. Now in this particular conference, the final paper is due in December, so that is a month before the actual conference. So once the abstract is accepted, you do get several months to improve your final paper and to prepare your final presentation and so on. Now typically there are two types of abstracts. So one of the types of abstract is a short abstract, so that may be a paragraph or a page. And this is widely used in the case of workshops, symposium, and small conference, regional conferences, national conferences, and so on. And the big worldwide international conferences typically require larger abstracts, so you may have to submit a 5-page abstract to such conferences. So typically the abstract length, number of words, and specifications will be provided in the call for papers, and the call for papers comes out several months before the abstract is actually due. So now let's start with the smaller abstracts first. So if you have to submit a paragraph or a 1-page abstract, it's quite simple. You basically discuss your motivation for the problem you are trying to solve, the methods involved in solving this problem, and then you give some sample results which you have, and you may at this point mention about the results which you may obtain in your final paper. So it's perfectly fine when you submit an abstract to say that certain results will be shown in the full paper or in the final presentation. So in case you are working on a vibration problem, you may say that the full paper will show the results in terms of vibration reduction which will come out from this numerical study. Now, the reason that these conferences or symposium require short abstracts is that their primary aim is to get a lot of people together, and then they want to look at topics which are not yet fully formed and let the people discuss these problems out. So in many fields which are fast moving, there is a scope of lot of knowledge to be created by the interaction between the different researchers, and the aim of these symposiums, workshops, and small conferences is to encourage the people to submit their abstract and then come and present their work, and then take the feedback from the different people, go back to their home institutions, and then further polish their work and then submit it later to some journal or some bigger conference. Now, if we come to the second type of abstract, which is more detailed, and that's typically the common norm in typical professional society conferences such as IEEE and so on. Now, here it's somewhat like a skeleton paper. So basically you have to start out with the title, you have to give the names of the people writing the abstract, the institutions where they are coming from, and then introduction section will start straight away, and here you discuss your problem. You outline the problem, and at the end of the first paragraph of the introduction, you explicitly state your problem. Now, beyond that, there may be room for 1 or 2 paragraphs to briefly discuss your literature survey and to point out what is new about your work with respect to the literature survey. So now, since space is less in a conference abstract, you have room to cite maybe 5 to 10 papers or at maximum 15 papers. And so your literature survey needs to be compact. You need to ensure that you have cited the seminal papers in the field and you have cited the recent work. So one good strategy at this point is to look for a review paper in your field and to cite that paper, and a few more recent papers to basically put your work in context of the state of the art in the field. Now next section is the method section, and here again you have a couple of paragraphs to discuss your numerical method, your mathematical method, or your experiment. And here it's a good idea to basically write out your methods, give a few mathematical equations. You don't need to give the whole derivation, maybe just give some high level mathematical equation. And also you can take the help of diagrams to explain your work. So there is possibly a room of one diagram at this point. Then you have a section called sample results. So at this point you really don't have all the results which are required for the final paper. So what you may do is you bring out the configuration which you are trying to deal with. For example, if you are discussing an aircraft, then you know what are the different dimensions of this aircraft, what are the material properties of its different components, and so on. So you may provide this information in a table, and then you may present one or two graphs about the problem you are trying to solve. So if you are trying to bring down vibrations using smart materials, then you may have a graph which shows the vibration of the baseline or starting system and the vibration of the system which was created by using the smart material. So basically a comparison between a baseline value and the value which you have got in your preliminary results. So typically to write a good abstract, you should have obtained some preliminary results of your problem. You should have done some mathematical modeling. And now you are at this point somewhat sure that you can go ahead and write a paper over the next few months. So now in abstract, there is typically no room for conclusion. So you basically end at the sample result section, and at the end of this sample result section, you make a promise about the full paper and what are some of the results which the full paper may contain. So you may at this point mention that the full paper will provide a complete parametric study of the impact of smart materials on vibration reduction in the structure. And then of course you have the place for references. So again, like I said, there is less room for references here. So you may have room for only 5 or 10 references at this point. Now, there are certain type of conferences where they actually have submission for a full paper and they review the full paper. So most conferences will accept the abstract you have submitted them, and you can submit the full paper at the given time, and then the full paper is published. So they do not review the full paper. But there are certain conferences which are more reputed in the field where the full paper is also reviewed. And in such conferences, you basically write out the full paper like a normal paper, which I have discussed in some of my previous videos. So you have all the results and discussion, conclusion, abstract, and so on. But again, you have to stick to the page guidelines in this case. So there is typically a number of pages guideline. It may be maximum of 6 pages or maximum of 10 pages because the conferences typically like to keep the papers to a lower size. And at this point in the second round review of your paper, there is also the possibility that the reviewers can comment about your paper suitability to journals. So in some of these cases, they can directly send your conference paper to a journal for publication. So there are certain bodies like the where you can have such a situation, and these are typically professional societies which simultaneously run conferences as well as journals. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that you should submit the conference paper a few days before the deadline, so you don't have any problem with the web pages and so on. Sometime if you are behind schedule by a quite substantial quantity, then you can request the people to give you some more days, and that's also possible at times, but try not to procrastinate and to stick to the deadline as far as possible. It's also very important to stick to the length guidelines very much for the conference. So typically most conference web pages will have a template in terms of LaTeX or in Microsoft Word where you can write out the paper, and so they will exactly specify certain formats in terms of the sections you should use, in terms of the references, in terms of the figures, the fonts, and so on. So stick to these particular formats. If you are using the template for the conference, then this is very easy. Now if the conference gives a page limit of, let us say, 5 pages or 10 pages, stick to this very carefully, because generally if you do not stick to this, the people may think that you are somewhat callous about following the guidelines, and they also may reject your paper in some cases, because there may be some secretarial staff who may turn down papers which do not follow the guidelines. So once you have submitted the abstract, What you have to do is you have to wait a few months to hear back from the conference, and once you hear back from the conference, so typically that will be in the form of a mail communication to you, and then you can use this to get permission for going to the conference from your university or research institute, and you may have to write a letter to the dean or the department chairman to get this. And once you have got that permission from your institute, you have to plan all your travel. So there is a lot of planning involved to go to a conference. So you have to book your train tickets or plane tickets, and also you have to book your accommodation where you are going to stay. So if you do this many months before the deadline, then your costs come down substantially. If you are going to a foreign country, you also need to go for the visa. So again, typically many countries require a lot of formalities to be completed before they give you a visa. So there are points about submission of application on the consulate web pages and so on, as well as you may have to give a lot of documentation for this particular conference. So try to give yourself sufficient time so that you can do all these different tasks and you are ready for the conference. So again, like I told you before, the part about going to a conference can be quite substantial depending on if the conference is in a faraway location or in a foreign country. So one of the strategies to use is to make sure that if a conference is being held in your own city and it's in your field, then you must ensure that you go to this conference and submit several papers to this conference. So one of the things I try to do is I try to actually lump papers through a year or two and then go to a conference and present 4 or 5 papers at the same time. So that is another way to save funding in terms of going to conferences and so on. So these are some of the concepts I had today about going to conferences and about how you can plan for going to conferences and write an abstract for a conference. So I'll see you in my next video. Stay tuned to my channel.